Hi, my name is Skatha, and I'm the artist and designer for the independent clothing line called Miss Velvet Cream. Miss Velvet Cream is handmade, ultra femme clothing. I design all the pieces and I sew them myself. I established Miss Velvet Cream in San Francisco in 2003, which means we're at 20 years. Which feels like a really long time, but I'm a self-taught designer. When I started, I actually had no background other than wearing clothes and hanging out with people who made clothes. I started making, and then started doing upcycled clothing, and I participated in the first Makerfaire in the Bay Area, and over the years I've had the joy and privilege of being part of different activations, workshops, and ways of participating and showing at Makerfaire. So I'm part of Makerfaire 2023, which is on Mare Island, and it starts October 13th through 15th, and then again the 20th through the 22nd. And I'm doing two different components. One, and under the project, 1,000 Ways to Wear, and that's a Upcycle t-shirt project. And I have both an installation, which will be in the Foundry area, and then on the first weekend, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm doing some t-shirt workshops, and then on also Sunday the 22nd, and those workshops are free to participate. You just have to bring a t-shirt if you can, and come and work on some projects with me that I'm going to introduce and walk you through pretty quickly. And you can just sign up. I think they're in the afternoon, about 1 o'clock, 1:30. So, but let's talk about my project. What is upcycling to start? If you're not familiar with upcycling, that is a term that's pretty common now, and usually it does mean taking waste. The difference between recycling and upcycling would be upcycling suggests that we took the waste and then we gave it new life and we increased the value of it. And what is waste? Well, in the design process, in production for like large companies, often like they might have too much fabric. They ordered fabric to produce something and then they had leftover fabric, and that becomes waste. And for example, like you might go to a fabric store where they have like short rolls of like very unusual fabrics, and sometimes those kind of stores are called jobbers, and what they do is they would be selling something that otherwise would be waste. And the problem with clothing, besides the general waste of production, waste of making, is that often, especially if you're, ordering, let's say you're doing an event, let's say you're Makerfaire, and you're ordering a bunch of shirts to sell because you have an event, and let's say you miscalculate how many shirts you think you're going to sell in a certain size, or let's say there's an error in the order and nobody catches it, and you have like 100 size small shirts that don't really fit anyone and nobody's gonna buy, and you don't know what to do with them. So what do you do with them? You put them aside because you don't want them to make waste, right? What are we gonna do? Throw it away? And so a few years ago, actually, Makerfaire had given me a lot of shirts, if this happened to them, that were excess. And when something is already produced but not sold and not worn yet, in language, like clothing language, we call that dead stock. So for this project, I'm mostly, not 100%, but mostly working in dead stock. And what dead stock means is like, we have a huge pile of shirts. They're all the same shirt. They're over and over and over the same shirt. And they're all the same size, and they were never sold. And what I'm doing is I'm upcycling them into other pieces. You can see my drawings here. And then I'm kind of mixing them up and then bringing them to present. So what I'm showing in the installation, they'll be on these dress forms, will be like a little bit more complex than what I would be showing in the workshop. The workshop will be really straightforward in about 30 minutes. So I just want to quickly show you kind of what forms upcycling can take. Upcycling can be something where this is a simple version, like the foundation version of a Makerfaire shirt, or buy the show. When you come and see it, it'll have a little bit more embellishment. Miss Velvet Cream is hyper femme clothing, and I really, as my aesthetic, as a designer and an artist, I really like texture. I like combinations of fabrics, and I like aggressive silhouettes. And I really like my hand, because I sew everything myself. I really like my hand to be really evident of what I'm doing. And so what that means is, like, my stitching is really aggressive. I like raw edges. I like a really like deconstructed, reconstructed look. And so in the pieces that I'm bringing, but also in the workshop, I'm going to be like emphasizing that kind of aesthetic and that kind of style. And I guess one thing I did want to say was that you can be participating in upcycling or recycling or remake or reconstruction, or like finding ways to the waste in your wardrobe, or if you want to do this as an artist yourself. There's many different aesthetics, and my particular aesthetic is a little rough and punk and femme, and that's just it's just an aesthetic. It's not an aesthetic of upcycling. Upcycling can take any form, and so can any of these kind of projects. It's just because I'm bringing what I bring, and Miss Velvet Cream, this is what it looks like. So this is an example right here of like a discarded piece, which is like it's like a velvet jacket, and I just added some ribbon to it, and then I took a 1940s silk cocktail dress, which was so damaged. You can see that it's even has like the lining has like faded out, and I turned it into a train for this jacket, which is like, you know, it's really simple. It has a little sizing on the back, so you can wear it tight or you can wear it straight. This is an example, right, of upcycling right here, where we have like something that was silk chiffon, beautiful but unwanted, and then this, which was just, it needed new life. And so the other thing about what I do is I don't purchase items to upcycle. I'm only like a collector, like a rag picker, and I collect items and I reconstruct them. Now, and sometimes those were gifted from other people. And then what other ways that I get, or what upcycling can come from, is something called like samples. So this is actually like test samples. This foundation shirt, this denim, was a test sample from Levi's, because Levi's is a large company and they do like trend forecasting, and they have very large budgets and very large quantities. And so when they make a design, they like test, you know, like they'll test like 40 different colorways. And so that becomes a waste, you know, because they can't sell their product. They don't want, you know, they might not be using it. And so years ago, I was working with a nonprofit group that was working with Levi's, and it came into a few boxes of like basically samples, raw samples. And so that's what I made this from. And it's also with like a discarded dress from like the early 90s, smashed onto the back as a bustle, which is and this is very Miss Velvet Cream aesthetics, which is a lot of texture, a lot of layers, a bustling, a lot of noise and rhythm and movement in the piece itself, even if it's just sitting there. And then we also have this kind of dead stock that comes from like a retail. So I have a independent boutique that I know in San Francisco called Five and Diamond, and sometimes when they do their own clothing lines, at a certain point they might have leftovers, but there's only like a really small amount, and they've tried to sell them. So then we have a situation of like, oh, it's just not sold, and it's one random size. And so I acquired a few of these as also like my waste collecting. This is an example of where I took one piece and I attached another skirt to the bottom of it, and I covered it with appliques, and I put all these like little rosettes all over it. And I added some like ornamental like jacquard pockets, and it kind of like, it has the essence of the original piece, but now it's something very different. It's also a different size because I sculpted. I like changed the sizing. And so, for example, at Makerfaire, I'm showing this. This was actually in 2009. I did Swap-A-Rama-Rama at Makerfaire Bay Area. And then that's a situation where people come and they bring lots and lots of their own clothes to swap out for others or work on projects with designers. And the problem with that happens is there's just so much waste left over. At the end, we donated it to a donation center that was gathering clothes for people who needed them. But there's just so much. And so this was a scrap, parts of like kind of a renegade quilt that I got there. And then I took parts of it and put it on here, and then included more pieces of t-shirts and leftover scraps, and it's like this giant quilted skirt. Another example right here is like another like using these Makerfaire shirts, all from 1 year, all in one size, all with the year on them too, so it becomes more difficult right later on to just do anything with them. So everything I'm doing for this project is bringing something that was a waste, was unwanted, however it came to me, whether it was gifted or a hand-me-down or found on the street, or someone decided to quit their business and they gave me all of their leftover fabrics and notions. And it's the same thing for the workshop we're doing. It's just bring something of yours, like a t-shirt that you're willing to cut up, and like, let's play. And you can see my installation forms. There's 4 or 5 of them, yeah, in the Foundry for both weekends. And feel free to find me on any social media platform, Miss Velvet Cream, or you can email me at missvelvetcream@gmail. And I look forward to seeing you at Makerfaire. Thank you.